Alright, welcome to the Daily Wander. Today we're down in the state of Connecticut and we are going to ride up the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail. Which apparently, if we decided to continue north far enough, we could get back to Massachusetts. Not sure we're going to go quite that far today. We'll go out for a spin. So far it's a real nice trail, shaded. I guess it's one of the premier trails here in the state of Connecticut. So we'll go out and give it a go and see what happens from there on the Daily Wander. Thanks for coming along. So we're still negotiating our way through the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail, and we're trying to make the connection over to the Farmington River Trail. And there's a little bit of off-road riding here, kind of getting through the town. It's all doable. You got to just pay attention to your maps and trust them. The turnoff is by the high school, by the way, not at the intersection. But we're now on, well, this actually looks more like an old canal path, which it probably is. There might be a canal off to the right. I'll turn the camera around here in a minute. But I think we're pointed in the right direction now. Hopefully headed back to the car here in, I don't know, 12, 13 miles. On we go. Oh, we're back. So we have done the top of the loop of this trail we're running. And now we're coming back down on the Farmington River Trail. It's an interesting idea, their loop. A lot of on-road riding, some pretty steep hill climbing, a couple dirt paths thrown in there, so maybe a tiny bit of false advertising, but you know, once you are patient with it, you can kind of work your way through it. So we've got about 9 miles left. We're coming through Canton right now. Sharing the trail with some other folks there. We've actually seen quite a few cyclists today. A fair number of walkers wandering around. Cycled right through a cross-country high school meet, which was kind of interesting with everybody standing around. They were cheering a lot, but probably not cheering for us. So we're coming up to one of the many cross streets that dot these trails. For the most part, people are pretty patient. Cars will stop for you. Some of them even have crossing lights. So, I don't know, something I guess Alaska could take a lesson from there. So again, about 9 more miles here. Kind of wandering down. It's up in the low 80s, so out in the sun. A little bit too warm for me. But a lot of the trail is shaded, so it's actually a very pleasant temperature. We'll probably check in one more time before we call this a day. Probably gonna end up with somewhere around, 28 miles or so on a rail trail in Connecticut.